and a warm welcome back to the Derrylin Diaries, the podcast where big stories come from small voices.
We're your hosts today. I'm Caitlin Landish.
And I'm Fane O'Reilly.
And we're both pupils at St Nenet's Primary School here in the wonderful Derrylin, County Fermanagh.
Every single episode, we dive into the heart of our community, bringing you the voices, stories and memories of people we admire. And today, we cannot literally believe who we're about to introduce you to.
That's right, Fiona. I am so excited for this one. Okay, listeners, just a quick reminder before we begin that here on the Derrylin Diaries, we follow a fun format of 5 questions with.
All right, listeners, I bet you're dying to know who the 5 questions with will be with and who our next guest is.
Okay, folks, buckle up. Today's guest is a proud Gaeilgeoir, a loyal Silverbridge man, an Armagh legend, a principal of a secondary school and one of our heroes.
He once told us that the GAA belongs to us, and we are so grateful and proud of everything he has done to lead the way for children all over Ireland who dream of playing in Croke Park someday.
Please join us in giving a warm Fermanagh welcome to the one and only Gaelic Games royalty and the current GAA President, Jarlath Burns.
That's the best introduction I've ever had in all my life.
I can't believe we got the privilege today of interviewing the GAA President. Jarlath, fáilte go dtí our school naomh agus go dtí mar a tattoo inniu.
Tá me go hanamhaid Fiona agus tá me sé ionta sásta a bheith anseo agus brodúil a bheith sa scoil speisialta seo.
We would just love to begin by saying thank you so much to Jarlath. Thank you so much, Jarlath, for coming to the podcast and participating. We are beyond grateful and excited.
Well, without any further ado, let's get started. As we previously mentioned, our podcast structure follows the format of 5 questions with, and in this case, it's 5 questions with Jarlath Burns.
So Jarlath, if you don't mind, we're going to begin by bringing it right back to when you were a kid and your childhood. So, we should probably remind the listeners that our whole P7 class wrote letters to each of our guests and asked them to bring in an item that represents their childhood. So today, Jarlath, we would like you to tell us what your chosen item is, where you grew up, and why it reminds you of your childhood.
I deserve detention because I haven't brought my item with me. I have been away from my home for almost a week now, and I'm going home after this, and I can't wait to get home and sleep in my own bed tonight. But the item which I would have brought and which is at home was the very first pair of football boots I had with a screw-in stud. Because up until then, the kids in our house, we had 2 very older brothers, and myself and Fintan were the same. Jerome and Coleman were older, and they had studded boots, and we only had what we call the wee moulded ones for playing out in the back garden with. And then one day, my mum and dad came home with a pair of studded boots, and I just loved the sound that the studded boots made. They just screwed in the studs, and for me, that felt that I had crossed a big milestone in my life. And I used to actually sit on our doorstep with the boot and used to just go to hear the sound of it and think, I am now so grown up that I'm wearing these boots. But I realised that if I was going to be worth anything, it wasn't having the boots, but what you did in the boots that kind of...
So, our next question area, Jarlath, is all to do with school, something we know you love. We would love to know, when you were younger, what school did you go to and what was your favourite subject? Also, do you have any funny memories from when you were at school?
I went to St Patrick's Primary School, Cullyhanna. My favourite subject was Irish, because we were very lucky that our principal, Mr Hugh Macaulay, was very, very committed to Irish. And even though Irish wasn't in the curriculum in any other school, we learned it, and it was as important as English or maths or geography or history or any of the other subjects. So whenever I went on then to St Coleman's College in Uri, nobody could believe how much Irish that we had. So straight away, that was the one subject that I was top of the class in, and that gave me great confidence. So I have so much to thank Cullyhanna Primary School for, and Mr Macaulay. Right, I'm going to tell you a funny story. Okay. When I was young, I used to do impressions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And every day at 10:30, what used to happen would be Mr Macaulay, who was our teacher, used to go up to get a cup of coffee and have a wee smoke of his pipe. And we were a good enough class, and he used to leave us, on our own, and there would be a sort of a prefect, somebody like yourselves, would mind the class. And then, whenever he would leave, I would go up and I would start doing my impressions and entertaining the class, and they used to be laughing. So I remember one day, I was finished it, and I was walking towards the door, and they were clapping me, and I was walking towards the door, and I turned round, and who was standing at the door? Only Mr. Macaulay. And you know what made it worse? I was just after doing an impersonation of him. And he had seen it. But he saw the funny side, and he laughed. And once he laughed, we all laughed. And then he says, I wanted to do the impressions again in front of me, and that was the hardest show I ever did.
Our third question in our podcast is always an interesting one. Jarlath, we would love to know, if you weren't the GAA President or a secondary school principal, and you could choose to be anything, absolutely anything in the world, what job would you choose and why?
You might find this a wee bit hard to believe, Fiona, but I have always wanted to be either a joiner or an electrician, because I just love the work that they do. And even if you look at this room that we're in, look at the work that it took from joiners and electricians to create this room that we are in. It was made by joiners and electricians. And we don't probably value the creativity of those people. There's a plumber who, there isn't a sink here, but the work that they do is unbelievable. And the artistry of what a joiner does is incredible. And we just take it for granted. So if you look at, for example, the way that door is constructed, and you call those things at the top architrave and all that, try and do it if you're not a joiner, and you just see how hard it is to do. Or try and, wire a light or put in a new socket, and you realise just how hard it is. And those guys get up every morning at 6:30, and some of them go to Dublin and they work very, very hard days, and they get well paid for it, but I don't know what we would do without them. So probably it would be either a joiner or an electrician.
For question number 4, we're going to get to know you a little better and try to dig a little deeper. This should be good crack, Fiona. Jarlath, we would love for you to tell us a story or something that very few people would know about you, only if you're comfortable, of course.
Okay, I love to sing, and I love to play the guitar. And yeah, although I would love to be a joiner and electrician, my dream was to be like Bruce Springsteen, standing on the stage in Croke Park playing, and thousands of people there to see me. And I used to write songs and everything. And I remember whenever I went to college, and I was in my third year in college, myself and my wife Suzanne were getting ready to get married. And we were saving really, really hard to get married, and we had so much money saved up. And myself and this other fellow who I knew very well, he was a guitarist and he could sing as well. And we were practicing because we were going to go on the road. And we were he had written a few songs, I'd written a few songs. And of course, as far as I was concerned, we were going to get a record deal, and we were both going to be the famous people ever. And we decided then that we were going to have to buy all our gear, our sound gear and everything else. So it was going to cost 2,000. And we had 2,500 saved for our wedding at that time. So I went to my wife Suzanne, and Suzanne would have heard us practicing every so often. She would have seen us, and she would have been in and out, one ear and one eye on it, and she would have been listening to us. And says, I need to take £2,000 out of our wedding account. And she says, but why is that? And I says, because myself and Aaron, was the name of the other fellow, say, we're buying gear and we're going on the road, and we're going to write some songs, and we're going to get a record deal, and we're going to become famous. And Suzanne, I'll never forget the words she says. She says, will you sit down there? So I sat down, and she says, listen, you're not very good. She says, you're okay if you're at a session and a few people are singing, and they say, Jarlath, get the guitar there and sing a few songs. You might sing, Sweet Caroline or, American Pie, and get everybody up. And she says, nobody's going to pay you to sing. And by the way, see those songs you've written? They're rubbish, put them in the bin. So, actually, that was very important advice, because I wasn't very good. I was all right. My songs weren't all that good. And I'm okay as a singer and okay as a guitarist. But sometimes it's no harm for somebody to say that to you, because we would have had a very bleak wedding if I had have taken all our wedding money and spent it on sound gear and then went around and not made any money as a singer. But it means now that I can still say that I would have been something like Elton John or Paul Simon. Only Suzanne, my wife, held me back.
I'm sure you're glad to know we're on to our final question. Well, this time we'd like to ask for your advice. So as you might know, myself and Caitlin and the whole P7 class are going into big school next year, and we were wondering what advice would you give to a year 7 pupil that might be a little nervous as they enter school?
Aha! Now, this is something that I'm very familiar with, because as a principal of school, that would take in around 250 pupils every year into first year. And half of them come from 4 schools and the other half come from 14 schools. I would go around the primary schools and talk to primary 7s all the time. And what I would say to you is this. Whenever you're in this school here, you have all of these what you call comfort zones. So you have your desk, that's your territory. Underneath it is where your gear is. That's where your bag is. And that little part of the school is yours and nobody is allowed near it. Isn't that right, girls?
Yeah.
But you have one teacher. You're so lucky with the teacher you have, and you have one classroom. But whenever you go to big school, you could have maybe 8 subjects a day, 8 different teachers, 8 different classrooms, all of those things. And that's why it's so important to organise yourself. So every day in St. Nenny's you'll probably get 1 homework, but there might be days you come home from big school with 8 homeworks. And you might have maths on a Monday, but you don't have it again until Wednesday, and you might say Tuesday night, I'll do my homework, I'll not do it Monday night. So here's my advice to you. Organise yourself. Here's what I mean by that. First thing you do when you go into your class, you'll have a student planner or a diary. That's the first book out of your bag, right? Put that book onto your desk. And whenever you get a wee homework or whatever, write it in. Don't say, oh no, I'll remember it. Just write it in. When you come home in the evening, first thing, before you do anything, to get your uniform off you, right? And get your old clothes on, your own clothes, your comfortable clothes on. And then go down, have a particular time every day to do your homework. Do your homework, and when you're finished every homework, just take it off or put a wee line through it. There is no satisfaction at the satisfaction you get from it. Done. And then close the book, and then this is the next most important part. You should have your timetable up on the wall like this here. Take all the books out of your bag and say, what have I got first tomorrow? I have maths, then I have English, then I have RE. Put them all in. Double check them. You don't want to forget a book, especially if you've done your homework. You don't want to forget a book. And then close it up, put your school bag away, and you can go back up and enjoy the rest of the evening watching Peppa Pig or Thomas the Tank Engine or whatever you young people watch on the... I know it's not Peppa Pig. That's what I would do. That would be my advice. Now, other people give you lots of advice about making friends and all of that. All of that will be okay. Every other girl going into your school will be exactly the same as you. Don't try and be like the sort of ones who are too cool for school and everything. Just be yourself. Don't try and be somebody else. Everybody else is taken. You be yourself. And I can tell you, girls, I don't think either of you will have any bother going to big school next year.
Girl Amelia Morgate, Jarlath, are you all questioned out?
Well, I'm relieved, Caitlin, and I'm now starting to think how much trouble have I got myself in with my primary school, St. Patrick's in Cullyhanna, with my wife Suzanne, because I've told that she said I wasn't very good. She'll probably laugh at that. But I have to say, I've really enjoyed it. And can I say, I was really looking forward to coming here today, because today is a very big day in the GAA for lots of reasons, and there was lots of people looking for me in the media, and it was great. I'm not doing any other interviews today, because today is the day that we find out the money that Casement Park is getting. The BBC, RTE, UTV, they were all looking at an interview with the GAA President today, but I said, unfortunately, I'm unavailable because today I'm tied up doing an interview with Fiona and Caitlin, who went through all the proper channels and wrote to me in their own handwriting asking for an interview. So that's who I'm going to be giving an interview today. So I'm so sorry. RTE, UTV, BBC, Sky News, St. Nenny's came first today.
Thank you, Jarlath. Do you think you'd have time to do a quick fire round of the game This or That to allow our listeners at home to get to know you better?
Why not?
Christmas or summer holidays?
I think summer holidays, because the days are longer and they're warmer and it's nicer.
Number 2, bookworm or binge watcher?
Definitely a bookworm. I always have at least 3 books going on, and when I'm travelling in the car all the time, I'm always listening to a book on the Audible app, which is a very good way of reading.
Time travel to the past or time travel to the future?
I would say time travel to the future, because too many of us live in the past in this country, don't we? Leave the past behind us and move on.
No TV ever again or no music ever again?
Oh, no TV ever again. I'd never watch TV. I've no interest whatsoever in TV. I would do without a TV in my life altogether. But music, as we know, music is my life.
Winning by a point or winning by 10 points?
I think winning by a point, because then you look at every single thing that you did during the match and you think, yeah, that contributed to the victory.
Extra time or penalties?
No, I'm an Armagh man. My answer to that is neither, because we don't have good experiences in either of those two things, extra time and penalties. I would say extra time.
Back in the day, who was your toughest rivals? Was it County Tyrone or County Down?
It was probably County Down, because there I went to school in St Coleman's and Newry, and all my friends were from County Down. I never really had any dealings with Tyrone. So when Tyrone started winning, where we lived in South Armagh, we sort of supported Tyrone, we liked Tyrone, but then coming closer to the border between Armagh and Tyrone, the rivalry was great, and they couldn't understand why we wouldn't mind Tyrone. But I have lots of friends in all those counties.
Sure, it's not for Anna now.
No. We love Fermanagh.
The next are your tough ones, Jarlath, so truthful answers only.
Okay.
Keeley Park or Croke Park?
Oh, I would say Keeley Park. That was the place where I learned how to kick my first ball, and I'll never forget the people who taught it. Having said that, in the job that I'm in at the moment, my office is on the Hogan stand, and where I go to have my lunch is the far side of the Cusack Standing Museum. So every day, the journey that I take from my office to my lunch takes me round a lap of the Croke Park field, and there isn't a day I don't go by and go, I'm the most privileged person in the whole world.
Which do you prefer, being a secondary school principal or the GAA president?
At this point in time, probably being the GAA president, but I love my work as a secondary school principal at St Paul's. I'm there 34 years, and although people laugh at me when I say this, I fully intend going back to be the principal of St Paul's when I'm finished this job. And I'm looking forward to it, and I stay in touch with all my friends in the school and the school staff and the school principal and everything else.
Now for the big one, Jarlath.
Honest answers only.
Who's the better footballer, Jarlath Senior or Jarly Og?
Boom, boom, boom. That's an easy question to answer. Who do you think I'm going to say?
Yourself.
I don't even know if I would get onto the Armagh team now. Jarly Og is all the things that I don't have. So I could catch, Jarly Og can catch the ball. But Jarly Og can run very fast. Runs up and down the field all day. I get tired almost looking at him. But he can also score. I could never score. If you ask Malachy, he'll tell you, I could never score. I won a very important competition with Malachy O'Rourke, the Sigerson, in 1989, before you were even born. And I have very happy memories of that.
Well, would you look at that, Caitlin? Time really does fly when you're having fun. Thank you so much to the one and only Jarlath Burns. It's been an honour to have you on our podcast. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and participate in the podcast.
And thank you to you, our loyal listeners at home, for tuning in on yet another Derrylin Diaries episode. You know the drill by now. We'll be back in the next few weeks with another exciting guest. Remember to always keep a close eye on our Facebook and TikTok page, St Ninid's PS, to see who we've got lined up next.
But for now, it's time for us two to sign off and pack up and go support Derrylin Miners playing their rivals Timor tonight. So it's a goodbye from me, Fiona O'Reilly,
And me, Caitlin Landers.
and all of the Derrylin Diaries podcast team. Slán!